Hey, what's up? So there's quite a few problems with this situation going on right now. Haven't got my haircut done in months. My face hasn't been shaved in a week, and I have no clue what I'm doing right now. But if you clicked on this video, then you know what I'm doing. So that's good. I mean, I got a little sticky note over here that's basically outlining some stuff that I want to cover. But yeah. I was thinking about doing a tutorial on creating kind of like a save and load menu, and then you go into it and it has like options to click things like new, load, and delete the game file that you're creating, and then having multiple save options and stuff like that. But yeah, we'll see what happens, and we'll see if this even gets posted, because usually I don't post my videos, but we'll see. So let's go. All right, so I'm gonna start off by creating this main menu that I may or may not make. So let me just do file here. I'm gonna start off with like a new empty blank level, and this is gonna be our menu. So creating this nice and blank, just how I like it. So I'm gonna create separate game modes. So we have the game mode for our third person character when you're actually in the level, but the game mode for our menu is going to be no control whatsoever, because it's a menu and you're just going to be solely UI. So actually, wait, let me save this level as something. Save current level as. I don't want to. Took me forever to find that. Good start. Maps going in here. I'm gonna call this menu. Main menu? Main menu. Probably not gonna create another menu, but whatever. Okay, so I'm gonna create a game mode override thing here. So I'm just gonna I'm gonna create a framework folder first. Framework folder where I'm going to put all my framework stuff in. I'm going to create a blueprint class of game mode. Game mode. Game mode. Select. And this is going to be my blueprint underscore main menu game mode. It's kind of long, but whatever. Don't need to do anything with that, because I'm just housing all of my stuff within it. Then I'm going to create myself a pawn to go with it. So I'm going to have a different character, which is going to be my main pawn, menu pawn. Main menu pawn. I'm just going to do menu pawn. So this is going to be my character that goes with it. And yep, you guessed I'm not going to do anything with that either. And the last thing that I'm actually going to do things with is going to be my controller here. So my blueprint class is going to be a player controller, of which I'm going to menu controller. Of which I'm going to be setting up something, and it's going to be in the event graph. And all I'm going to do here is I'm going to set up on event begin play. I want to make it so that my cursor is visible and it's set to UI only. So set show mouse cursor. Set show mouse cursor. Check that, because I want to show my mouse cursor. Set input mode UI only. And I want to create a we're in the controller. So all I have to do is put a reference to self. If I was outside of the controller, then I'd have to get the controller. All right. So that's fine. Now I'm going to create the basic framework for these widgets. Widgets. All right. So new folder. Let's do widgets. And it's really just going to be 3 widgets, right? So you're going to have your main menu widget. Then you're going to have something when you click play game, it's going to have all the different saves or whatever, all the different profiles that you have. And then I want another widget for the slots themselves. And I'll just show you what I mean, because if I heard that, then I would not understand what I just said either. So let's get a user widget in here. User widget, select WB underscore, this is going to be the main menu. Main menu, I'm going to create a canvas panel here. Just drag that in there. This is going to be the entirety of the screen. I don't know how much Unreal Engine knowledge you guys have, but I'm just going to explain everything, all right? It's helping me talking out loud like this. I'm going to create a border here. So I have a border that's going to go in here. And this border is going to encompass my little title up here. So I'm just going to anchor this to the center top, and then I'm going to zero it out. And as you can see, it's a little offset. Alignment I typically mess with. I usually put both of them at 0.5 to center it, but because I'm already at the top, I'm not going to mess with the y-axis alignment. So just 0.5 for the x. And that way you can just change the size and it will stay exactly where you want it. I don't know how big to make this. This is just going to be like a banner for the actual stuff that's going to go inside. So let me create a text. Actually, let me change this brush here. Brush color? Brush color. I'm going to change that to 0.7. Makes it gray. That way you're going to be able to see this text actually show up. Because white on white is invisible. Text block, let me center this stuff out and upscale this a lot. Yeah, okay. It's under font, and then it's going to be, I don't know. We'll see how this looks with main menu in there. Main menu. Looks fine, right? It's nothing great, but whatever. Who cares? All right, so next I'm going to create another border, and this one is going to be our little thing on the side that's going to be telling us things. I'll put this on later. So this is going to be play game and quit game, I guess. So let me just create buttons for this. Button 1. I'm going to label the buttons because I'm going to actually create functionality for it. So it helps to label these. Button underscore play. Play game. All right, and then I'm going to add some text to this button so that here I can actually make this border size to content here. And then when I actually put words in this, it'll just size it to the appropriate size for this. So this text block is going to say play game. Okay. So now that says play game inside of this border here. I can create a spacer in between if I want, and that gives me a little bit more room in between the other button and this button. If I can attach this correctly, there we are. And I'm just going to copy this. So copy, and then Control C for copy, if you guys didn't know that already. What did I just do? Pasting a single slot widget will erase your... You know what? Never mind. I don't know what I did there. Nah, never mind. I'm just gonna do it the old-fashioned way. Never mind. Button. Let me do that. So it's under here. This is gonna be attached. This can't accept additional children. What? Okay. You know what? I see the problem. What if I deactivate that border and attach a vertical box onto it, and then I attach this button to that vertical box? Hey, okay. We're in business. All right, so button quit. And I also want to create a text for quitting as well. That would explain why that copy paste thing didn't work. And this is going to say quit. Quit. I'm going to center that. Let me just make sure everything's good here. So spacer, I want to increase the size of the spacer to like 10 or something. Create a little bit of space in between here. And this would look way better if it was in the center of the thing. That one's already center for whatever reason. Is that white background border? Let me just change this to a little bit more of a tint. Yeah, I'll keep it white actually. I'll change the buttons to black. I think that would look better. This part doesn't really matter. I just feel like doing it. All right, so let me go to my button. It's gonna be the background character color. Let me just put that all the way down to black. That might be a little bit too much black. It's kind of grayish. That's fine. Okay, it's not gray, guys. It is what it is, though. I don't know. Maybe that did look better with darker black, but whatever. This is good. This is good enough. And good enough is all we're striving for. Sounds really sad. All right. So did that. I'm actually kind of done with that, actually. So next thing I'm going to do is, I'd never actually put I'll put the little flower in the center. This is for like when you're resizing screens, say you have different screen sizes. It will adjust to where it is on the screen based on where the flower is. I know it's called an anchor. It looks like a flower. All right, so blueprint class, and I'm going to do another widget here. User widget. Select that, and then we're going to create something called WB underscore save slot menu. And I don't know why I just dragged that out of my screen. I wanted to double click it. Save slot. Let me just save this. Okay, save slot menu. I'm going to do the same thing in creating a canvas. This is basically what it's going to look like, the screen size and everything. So I'm going to put mine right in the center. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a border here to go straight in the center of this box. Let's anchor it to the center. And then we can zero out the location, and then we can do 0.5 on both the X and the Y, so it's smack dab in the center. All right. And we could either, size it to content, but you couldn't extend it because it'll keep, the way this is set up would be that it would keep creating rows, and then it would go off the screen if you had too many rows for save slots. You could do that and like just have a limited amount of save slots, and you could size it to content. Or you could create a scroll box inside of it and then have a set size for the actual box. But maybe I'll do both. I might just show off the size of content first and just create a set number of pieces, or nah. You know what? This video is already gonna be probably pretty long. I'm not even gonna bother with it. let's do this. So let me create the scroll box here. So create a scroll box. I meant to attach that to the border. Okay. Attach it to the border, and then we're going to want I'm just going to create a text saying like save slot or something at the top of this. F2, I don't know, I'm changing the text. I don't need to change the text. It's not going to change, so I don't really need to change that. I'm just going to say save slot. Save slots, saves, yeah, whatever. Then we're going to want to create the actual vertical box that's going to hold all the different slots we have. So vertical box. Vertical box, I want to go underneath this, and then underneath that we want another button that takes you back to the main menu if you want to go back to the main menu. So I'm just going to attach a button. So last thing is going to be a button. On that button you want text basically saying back. So there. I want to label this button for back because I'm going to be messing with it later, and I want to know what the button is. Button back, text, back. And as you can see, it's all mushed together like that. Perhaps I should have elongated this before so I could see exactly where I'm at here, but it doesn't really matter. Okay, so X, Y, I'll adjust this accordingly later. And so you can size the content. Oh, I didn't even for this border. Let me just make this, change the color on this. Let's say 0.7. All right. So that's what I'm looking at right now. Maybe I'll make the save slot color a little bit. It doesn't even matter. All right, let's just keep doing things. So I have this, the vertical box is actually in between here. You're not going to see it because there's no vertical boxes in between at the moment. I have it sizing the content right now, but I can easily just extend the box. I said I didn't want to do this, but maybe I'll just do this. I'm going to have to adjust it later, but I also need to center this. Okay, good. Back is already centered because it's a button. All right, cool. So maybe I should make this back button different. Yeah, maybe I should make it darker again. I'm really thinking way too much about things that don't matter, honestly. Whatever. I don't care. I don't care. I don't care. All right, so let's compile and save that, and then let's create the slots that are going to go within this vertical box that's actually in between the save slot and the back button. So let me blueprint class. I spent way too much time in this video already just messing around. User widget select WB underscore. This is just going to be the save slot itself, but less confusion row because I already have save slot menu. So I'm going to double click on this, and we are going to actually not create a canvas panel this time. Instead, I'm going to just drag in a horizontal box, and we're just going to play with it. But if you drag in a horizontal box, it'll do this thing where it looks like the whole screen again because it's based on screen size. Just drop down fill screen to desired on there. And it's a little dot, but we're going to fill that in. So we're just going to create a text block here. So text block, that's going to go in here. I don't really know what the size of that is, but we'll see. And then we're going to add another text block in here. The first text block, and I'm actually going to label on here because I'm actually going to change the values, is going to be the slot name. So it doesn't really matter that much because I'm going to be changing all the slot names, but I'm just going to put a placeholder here that just says slot name so I know what I'm looking at. I want to create a space in that. Okay. And then the second thing is text block. It's I want it to be a status. So F2 to rename, by the way. I did not mention that earlier. Text status, text block. I'm just going to put in status. And the status that I'm just going to put in is whether there's a save in it already or not. It's going to be either there's a game saved in here or it's going to just say empty. But you can fill in details about how long they've had that save slot or whatever in there. It's all dependent on what you want to add in there. I'm just creating a placeholder. And I'm showing how to put data into it. I should add some buttons. So I want to add the load, new, and delete buttons. So let me just do this. And now that we've figured out our issue, I'm just going to hit Control D and Control D again. Control D for duplicate. And I'm going to rename these buttons to first button for load. I kind of have to like look around my microphone in order to see what my hands are doing. Button load and button save. Sorry, not button save. I'm not saving from this. I am new. And then the last one is going to be delete. I'll give us an option to delete one of our saves. I don't know why I shorthanded this to button like that, because it already had button on there and I could have just easily just kept button, but whatever. So I'm going to create placeholders in these spots with the names. So actually, they're not even placeholders. They're actually what they're going to be named. I need to create the text. And the text are going to go on the different little buttons. That's a text. That's a text. And that's a text. Don't need to name the text because I'm not going to reuse them. I'm just going to say load. I mean, I am using them. I'm not changing them. Load, new. And the final one I want to be delete. This is kind of too close to everything. Let me just create some padding here. I just want it for the left and the right. Okay. And that still looks kind of close here. Do I have some font options? Italic? Okay. We'll take it. So I did that. I can actually start creating some functionality now. So the first thing I am going to actually do function-wise is create a game instance that's going to go in my framework. So I'm going in my framework, blueprint class, and then I'm going to create a game instance. Because game instances will subsist through the entire game. Did that make sense what I just said? GI game instance game, whatever. Good enough. There's only gonna be one game instance anyway. So thing you need to do with the game instance, you actually need to set the game instance in your project settings. If you're creating a new game instance, you need to replace it on your maps and modes. I'm also going to change my editor startup because when you start up, you want to start with your main menu, right? I don't know. Maybe you want to jump straight into the game and then back out of your, I don't know. Maybe you want to do something unique. Who am I to judge? Do whatever you want. Game instance game is the game instance I just created. And I'm going to close that. Go back into my game instance. And then we can start working from here. So I'm going to create a function here. And this function is going to be the UI. I swear my shift wasn't working. Show main menu. So I'm going to have this function show the main menu. I want to do an isValid check. So let me actually get my create widget first. Create widget, and the class is going to be of the main menu because we're showing the main menu. The owning value is going to be the player controller. Get player controller. And then I'm going to promote this to a variable. And we are going to use it for a valid check. But let me name it first. WB underscore main menu. Okay. So drag this in. I'm going to do a little isValid check here. IsValid with the one with the question mark. And I'm going to drag this on the execution one. So if it's not valid, then we're going to want to create it. But if it is valid, we just want to show it. So let me drag off this. Add to viewport. And I'm going to add this to the viewport. I don't like that. Alt click to break nodes. Okay. I can do that, and then I still want to add this to a viewport, so isValid, add to the viewport. Perfect. So now I want to, I'm going to have to drag off this. I want to set this input to UI only. So set input mode. Did I spell that wrong? Okay, I can't do it while dragging off of that apparently. I'm putting input as in input. Okay. I did that multiple times, so I can't even say that was like a keyboard error. I'm just an idiot. All right, so let me double click on this and drag this down. I really put input. Everything else here is fine. Just set, yeah, input mode UI only. I actually think I have to drag off of the this in order to get the cursor. Show mouse, set show mouse cursor. And if you're really looking for things that you know exists and you're just dragging off the wrong things, you can always just remove context sensitive. So also return node done. Compile and save, and that will be our UI shown main menu. So now I want to go set that up in our main menu here. Actually, first, I want to change this override mode to the mode we created for the main menu. And default pawn, we want to change to menu pawn. HUD class, we don't need a HUD class. Player controller, menu controller. I don't care about game state, player state, whatever. The rest of that's fine. And then I can click this drop down menu here, open level blueprint. And that will open the blueprint for the level. In our case, it's the main menu here. So drag off this event, begin play, cast to the GI, game, the game instance we created. And then drag off of this, get game instance as the input here. And then off of this, we can now grab the thing that we created, which is the UI show main menu. All right. So that's good. Next, we want to go and create a save game profile so that we can actually save data, such as like the save slot itself and all data that goes within it. So let me create a save game slot. save game. Not a save game slot. I need to create a save game. So I'm going to call it SG underscore player profile, which is going to house all of our variables. For me, I'm just going to create one just to show you guys how to create variables off of this. So the one variable I'm going to be doing is going to be currency. Dude, it is not a good day for spelling for me. All right. Integer, because I want my currency to be an integer. That's the only reason. And that's all I'm going to leave in there. You don't need to do anything in the event graph. This is just basically just for storing information for us. So I can actually just close this out. I'm not going to need to open that again unless I want to add new variables. GI game. So our next function that we're going to create is going to be create new game slot. And self-explanatory as to what we're doing. I'm going to create a input for this, and this is going to be the slot name. And we're going to be doing this a lot, creating a slot name. I'm going to make it string, and then off of this, I'm going to create a save game object. And that save game object is going to be our save game for the player profile. Drag off of this, and we can set the starting amount that you're having in terms of currency. For us, I'm just going to make it 0 for now. And then I want to save the game to the slot. So save game to slot. And I'm just going to attach the slot name here to the slot name here. And our save game slot is, or save game object is just going to be the actual save game object that we have here. All right, so that's good. Drag off of this. I want to, let me set this. Promote to variable. I'm just going to keep it as slot name. And then I want to drag off of this, and I want to get a loaded I just want to promote to a variable. Promote to a variable, I wanted to call it loaded profile. So this is the new loaded profile that we are setting in. And then off of that, I want to get a, I want to load the map up. So, not load, open level by object reference. And the object reference that I'm going to pick when we start up the game is going to be the level third person. Just because it's already in. Okay, is that everything? Seems like it. All right, so next I want to create load game from slot. So now I can make it so that I can load a game that I previously have saved from slot. Load game from slot, and that's going to be does save game exist. Need to create that input again for the slot name. So we're going to check, drag that in there, and then off of this we're going to get a branch. On true, we want to load this game from slot. If false, we don't want to do anything. Load game from slot. Load game from slot, not the one we created. My bad. Load game from slot, this thing. And this is going to be the slot name. And that's it for that. And then we just want to cast that to the save game, so that we can pull the date off of this. So let me get the, let me just drag this on here. Loaded profile. Actually, I wanted to do this first, actually, because I already have an order for it on the other one. Let me just do this. Slot name is going to be this set slot name. All right, and then same thing, we're basically just opening the level. Not by name, by object reference, because it's easier. Let's see. Main difference here is that we're asking if the save game exists. If it is, then we're just loading it and then getting the save thing. All right. So the last thing that we wanted to do on that save slot thing is that we want to delete previously held data in those slots. So I'm just going to create delete slot, and in this delete slot, really simple, delete game in slot. Same thing. Slot name. Drag that in there, and super easy. So now we can go to our main menu, go into the graph, and then I want to do, I don't need any of these things actually. I want to do on button play game. So on clicked, I want to summon my little save slot menu there. So let me drag off of this, create a widget. In that widget is going to be save slot menu. And then the return value, you just want to add it to the viewport so that you can see it. And that is done. And then on button quit, on clicked, there is literally just an option just for quit game. So it'll just quit the game for you. Don't mess with anything else. It's good. Compile save. So that's, I mean, that's pretty much all I need to do for that. GI game. Game instance, game. We need to create a new function. And that function is going to be make a slot name. So this is what our slots are going to be named. So I'm going to add an input here for an index. Mine is just going to be slot 1, slot 2, slot 3, slot 4, whatever. So I'm creating a system for that. You can go ahead and name your slots whatever you want or input your own thing. This is just a really easy way to set up slots, so I'm just going to do that. You don't really even need slot names if you have like whatever. There's tons of different ways to put information in these slots or what information you want to add and stuff. So let me add 1 to this slot. So that'd be slot 1 because index starts at 0. And then I want to create a promote a variable. This is going to be the slot number. Slot number. And I'm going to drag off of this, get a return node. Actually, I need an output on this. I need the slot name as the output of type string. All right, so I'm going to append this. And by append, I mean Frankenstein some stuff together. So I'm gonna just drag this onto B. So this is gonna be the number. So it'll be like 1, 2, 3, whatever. And then the first part is, I'm just gonna promote this to a variable. I'm gonna name it slot name prefix. And that is just going to be the prefix for the slot name. Go figure. So I'm just going to name it slot space, and then it does 1. That's fine, right? Should I put like a number sign or something? hashtag. It's fine. Whatever. It's just gonna, I created a space there, right? Yeah. So it's just be slot and then whatever number slot it is in the row. So yeah, that's all you need to do for that. Next, I want to make sure that the slot exists. So does slot exist? And once again, need slot name, because otherwise, how else are you going to tell what slot you're trying to check to see if it exists? So does save game exist? Drag this on here, and then it's just going to be attached to a return node that returns a Boolean that tells you if it exists or not. So I'm just going to call it exists, and it's going to be a Boolean. Boolean is basically yes or no for people who didn't know that. I didn't really explain that at any point. Now I think I'm good to now go into the save slot menu. Sorry, I forgot some things. I needed to add them, and I had to go back. So, okay, now I can go into the save slot menu. Okay, first thing I want to do is create a function. And in this function, we are going to build the slot list. And those are going to be all the little slots that are going into the list. So I don't have a variable for the VB slots. So I'm going to go to my thing for my little, I'm going to call it something else, vertical box underscore, why is that? Okay, I put multiple there. VB slot. I almost switched without changing this to a variable. Change it to a variable so that you can edit it, and then you can go back to the graph. Okay, so now I have this VB slot. Get VB slot. Then we can drag off of this. We can clear the children. Doing like a little factory reset every time you do this. So we're going to cast to the game instance again, because that's where all of our information is regarding everything. You just get game instance. And then we can pull whatever things we're trying to add. So what are we doing here? We're building the slot list. So I don't have a slot count, do I? Okay, I'm going to create a slot count for the number of slots that we're creating. So slot count. I'm going to make this an integer. Compile and save. So now I can close this. I don't need that anymore. Where was I? Okay, so drag off of this, and this is going to take our slot. Compile. Save. Wait, what? What are you saying? All right, whatever. So slot count. Why is this not? I'm deleting this. Oh, because I didn't cast to our GI game. I was so confused there for a second. All right, sorry. Cast to GI game, or whatever you named your game instance. I messed up myself. Okay, so slot count. Get slot count, and then we're gonna subtract this by 1. Subtract by 1 into our for loop. For loop. For loop. This is going to be the last index, not the first index. Okay. Let's see. And then it's going to loop through the body and make a slot. I need to pull off this. make slot name. Drag that on there. The index is just going to attach here. And then we're going to make sure, does slot exist? So we want to check to see if the slot exists. Once again, I have to drag off of this. And then if it does exist, then we're going to create a create a widget for the slot row. Save slot row. Yeah. Okay. So that's fine. The next thing we're going to need to do is also create a function that's going to be within the slot row, because I can't quite finish off that last one that we just did because I'm missing some information that I need to create in here. So let me do refresh slot row UI. So every time this runs, it's going to refresh all the slot row UI. So I don't have any of my text. So let me do this. I'm going to go into my text names here, and I'm going to create is variable, status is variable. First thing I'm going to do is get the slot name, and then I'm going to drag off of this, and I'm going to set text text. I don't know why it's called set text text, but this one, the one where it says text twice. I also don't have a variable for the slot name, so I'm also going to create that slot name. This is going to be a string. Drag this onto here, and it'll automatically convert it to text. And there you go. And then we need to create a Boolean here. Why am I writing out Boolean? I want exists on here. So we want to see if this exists or not. And that is going to be the branch condition that we have right here. So if it exists and that is true, then we want to get the text status. We want to get the button load, button new, and button delete. And we're going to set the text here. Set text. And in this text, we're just going to say has save. This is the description thing I was talking about. You can fill out more information or different information however you want. This is just where it's going to be held. You could even create your own function and then put it in there as well. Button load, let me set is enabled. That's not the is enabled that I wanted. I want the other one. Set is enabled, the one that's blue. And then all I want to do, I actually want to duplicate this. Control D to duplicate. And then I want to attach all these buttons in here. Okay, so button load on, it's true that it is existing. We want to enable the load and we want to enable the delete, but we don't want to enable the new because then it would overwrite the save we have. So we want to be able to delete it first, and then you can do a new save over top of it. And then I'm going to do basically the opposite here on the bottom row here. So highlighting, Control D, duplicating it, false. For this, I'm just going to put an empty, as in it's like an empty slot that you can save stuff in. And then for this, uncheck, check, uncheck. Compile and save that. Okay. Let's see. Event graph, going back to the event graph on event construct. When we first started up, I want to refresh the slot row UI. First thing I want to do when I construct it. Next thing, I'm going to do the on-clicked for, I guess we'll do the new game first. New game, I'm going to get a game instance. I'm going to do this correctly this time. Get game instance, drag off of this, get GI underscore game. Am I? Oh, cast. Just kidding, I'm not going to do it right. All right, off of this, create the new game slot. This is the function that we created on the game instance. And this is going to be the slot name that's going to go onto here. So I'm passing this slot name information onto the other one, which reminds me I need to make this instance editable and expose on spawn. And the same thing for this, instance editable, expose on spawn, because I'm going to be passing that data to it. Assume. Ooh, I also want to create a parent menu. And yes, I am well aware this isn't going to work until it's on the other thing. Slot menu, object reference. And this is going to be instance editable and expose on spawn. This isn't going to do anything until I create the function on the other thing. Well aware. Button new, button load. Okay, I want to do an on click for button load. Button load, essentially the same thing here. I'm literally just going to copy this. Duplicated it. Load game from slot. Only difference. Compile, save that. Last thing is going to be an on-clicked. Sorry, don't know why I couldn't find my buttons. On-clicked delete, and still kind of the same thing. Duplicating this again. This, I'm going to drag off of this, delete slot. Same thing, kind of hookup thing. But I'm now going to add parent menu, get, drag off of this, is valid with a question mark. If it is valid, then I want to build slot menu, build slot list. And it's going to give a little refresh there on the slot list, because when I delete it, it's not going to show anything until you reload the list, because the data might be deleted, but it's still there. It's still on the screen until you refresh the list. All right, so compile and then save that. Next thing we're doing is the going back to the slot menu, because I didn't finish that up like I was talking about earlier. You didn't get to see this. Sometimes this doesn't show like this. I must have done something. But sometimes you just have to right click and then you just have to refresh the nodes and then these things will pop up. But I don't know what I did. Somehow I made it work. So I need to label this as a reference to self so that my widget can get that parent menu thing. And then exists, slot name. That's correct. Don't need to fill that in. And then VB slot goes in here, add child to vertical box. And inside of this. Okay. Cool. Next we need to go into the save slot. Actually, it's still in the menu. Event graph. We need to go into the event graph. Event construct is the only thing I need out of those options. So build slot list when it's first constructed so that it loads that for the first time. And then we want to do an on clicked event for this back button. So it can take us back to the main menu, which is just going to be remove from parent. Just removing itself from the parent, get player controller, set input mode, UI only. Okay. All right, next thing we got to do is set up the third person controller so that you can enable the input after we already disabled it in our main menu thing. So we just need to enable the input. So let me go into my third person blueprints, third person controller here, and just get a little bit of real estate down here. And I'm just going to be creating a custom event called enable all input. I can't really see what I wrote because I'm so zoomed out. Yeah. So enable all input, and the first thing we're going to do is get the controlled pawn, and we're going to enable input. Enable input here, and then off of this player controller, this is going to be a reference to self because we are currently in a controller. We're currently in the controller that we need. Let's drag off of this, and then we're going to set input mode to game only because we're now switching over the control from the main menu to the playing menu where we are playing. And let me get the player controller here. Compile, save that. And then we are going to go to the game mode for the third person character. Open the level here. And we just want a few things when we begin play, event begin play. So this is going to trigger when we switch to out of the main menu, when we start in the level. Because the level has a different game mode than the one we have for the main menu. So I'm going to cast to third person player controller. There we are. Grab off of this, get player controller. And then off of this player controller here, I'm going to promote it to a variable so I can use it later. And then I want to I'm going to put this on a different level because I think I might use this later on. So I'm going to do a custom event of level start. And all this stuff is going to happen when the level starts. So I'm going to delay a little bit, so it gives a chance for us to get into the game first, so there's no error there for us enabling input. Enable. So I need to drag off of this so I can actually get the enable all input that we created. Enable all input. And that should enable all input. Okay. Cool. Next thing, we need to go back into the game instance, create another function, and this function is going to be saving the character data. Let's see. Does save game exist? On the slot name here, we are going to pull in our slot name that we already have. And then we're going to drag off of this does save game exist thing here to determine branch, yes or no. So let's do true first. So slot name. If true, we want to load up that slot. So load game from slot. It's going to be this load game. Maybe I need to make a little bit more space up here. And then I want to cast to the save game we have so that we can pull the, what did I call it? SG, didn't I? SG player profile. So that we can pull the data off of this. So let me set the loaded profile. And then I want to drag off of this and get the currency. Or set currency. And the currency needs to be the currency that we already have. Okay, let's see. Drag this in here. We have now a thing for currency. So drag off of this and save game to slot. All right, so we're saving the character data. If it does exist, we're going to save it to the slot that already exists. We're going to get the current currency that we have and set that as the currency, as the new save game currency. For any type of variable that you have, such as health or whatever, that you are changing or want to save to the slot, you need to add it to this portion. Everywhere the currency goes that you saw me messing with currency, it needs to have the same variables that you want to change in those same areas. I did not explain that well enough earlier, and I apologize for that. All right, so create save game object. Save game player profile, and then we load the player profile here, and then we set the currency. I don't know what the heck I just did. Set the currency here. Sorry, I didn't mean to do that either. I'm doing crazy things. I somehow created a variable. I want to set the currency to 0 because you're starting a new game, so you're going to start with 0 currency. Or if you're making it so that you start with some money, you would change that to a higher number currency. So if this is like health or something, you'd set it to whatever the normal amount of health would be. All right, save game to slot. Let's go straight there. Don't need to do all that other stuff because we don't have a save game to save it into already. And then we're saving into the slot, into the loaded profile that we're creating, which is going to be the slot name. And then we return. All right. Next, I'm going to add currency into the functions. So I'm just going to type in add currency. And in here, I'm going to add an input for the amount that we need. Integer-wise, adding that to our already existing currency. Whenever we add currency, we want to do that. And let me drag. Sorry. Drag there. Set currency there. And now we've set currency. Now, if you have a UI, you want to do a event dispatcher to call on currency changed. And then whenever you want to update the currency being changed, you just call on that event dispatcher wherever you'd want that to. So you have like a separate thing for refreshing your currency UI. This isn't a currency UI video, but if you want to know how to do that, that's how you go about doing that. Anyway, let's do. So next we want to load the character data. Load character data. I don't know why I dragged that in. same thing, kind of the same thing, except now you're loading it. So slot name, does save game exist this time? And if it does, then you want to do the branch. Well, you need a branch, and then if it does, then you do the conditions for true, which is loading the game from slot. Load game from slot. Doing the whole save game thing again. SG player profile. And then off of this player profile, you want to load, set your loaded profile. Grab off of this currency. So you're getting your currency off your loaded profile, and then you're setting that into the currency that's in your game instance. So you can update it. Same thing for any type of variable that you're going to be creating that you want to keep saved. Output has save boolean, and I want to check it. So true has save for that one. This is a little bit different in that we're kind of diverting to, if there is no save, then you just return the node has no save, and then it doesn't do anything. It shouldn't be enabled anyway though, so it shouldn't even go through that. Just a little balance check. So we have that, and then now we want to go back into your third person controller here. So one thing I'm not doing yet is I'm not loading the character data, and that's why I just created that. So off of this, I'm going to create a pin here, and I'm going to cast to the GI game and pull off of this, get the game instance, of course. We've done that like 100 times now. And then drag off of this and load the character data, the thing that we just created. So we're loading character data over there, and then we also need to make a way for us to see our currency somehow. So I'm just going to create a keyboard key here. It doesn't matter which one you clicked on. I obviously don't have that on my keyboard, but you can just click on, once you click on this, you can just click on the input key on here, and then you can press any number that your number, letter, or whatever you want on your keyboard, and it'll change to that. So on pressed, I want to cast to GI underscore game. And then off of this object reference here, I'm going to get game instance. And then off of this, I want to add currency. And then I want to save it. So, I mean, I could create a separate one for saving character data, but I'm just gonna do this. So I could have I could add a save button and then also whatever. This gets the point across enough. Okay. I didn't create the amount. I want it to be 10. Okay. I also did not create a way of seeing this at all. So let me go back into GI game, add currency, and let me get a print string. Print string, and then I can just attach this number to this, and it will auto convert it to a string so that I can see it on my screen. This is just for debug purposes, so I can actually see that I'm adding currency. So hopefully that all worked. I hit play. I have my main menu here. and play game and quit game. So let me test out my quit first. So this should end my game completely. So quit, and it ended my game. So that's good. That worked just as I expected. And then I'm gonna hit play game here. And it created this without any slots, and that is because I didn't create any slots in the thing. So slot count, I have a 0. Let's make how many slots we want? 20. 20 so we can see the scroll wheel. Compile, save. Let me hit play now. Play game. And now I have a scroll wheel. I need to elongate my box a little bit. Wait, let me do this. Go back to my slot menu. Okay, let me elongate this horizontally. Let's see, border, x-axis. That might be too big. I don't know. Play around until it's the size that you like. That's way too big. All right, wait. Let me show it down a little bit. I'm messing too much with this. It doesn't matter. Actually, it doesn't matter because it's going to be probably on my thumbnail. Let me shrink. Is that too small now? A little bit bigger. We'll do like 510, 520, 520. Wait, let me actually do it in the big screen. Okay, play game. Ah, it's a little off still. All right, one more shot. 530. $540. All right, 540. Compile, save, and I am playing. Hit the play. Okay, that's actually pretty good. So now I have my lots of slots. I have 20 of them, and as you can see, it shifts over a little bit because it goes up a digit. But yeah, so now I can hit new game on this empty slot here. It says slot 1 empty, and this is the only one that highlights up. The load and the delete don't highlight, and you can't click them. So when you click new, it starts you off in a new game, which I cannot control my current character for whatever reason. And I know exactly why I can't control my third-person character, because I'd never put level start on my thing. Level start. Okay. Now I should be able to load it. Okay. Now this is off the thing. All right. You know what? $600. Perfect. Perfect. All right. So now I have the save. And now that I've entered the save, it automatically saves when I enter the world. So now I have a save slot and it has save, so I can load into it. But let me show you. I can hit 1 and increases those numbers on the side there. So I'm at 120. Keep that in mind, because every time I click that button, I'm also saving. So when I hit play game, and I load that game, it should continue where I left off. That means I have saved the data in that slot, or I'm saving my currency. So let me make sure everything else is working. Let me make sure the delete's working. So let me delete. It deletes the slot, and as you can see, when I hit delete, it also refreshes everything. So now I can hit nuke here. Whatever. Doesn't even matter. And then I can hit play. And I have this. And then let's say I want to put something in slot 2 now. Escape, play. I now have something in slot 2. And say I want to do slot 4. Maybe I want to skip slot 3. Maybe I don't like slot 3, you know? Escape, play the game. Done. I can delete all these saves that I have. I can, if I go all the way down to the bottom, I can click back and it exits the save slots and I'm back on this main screen here. Let me just make sure that I can do this. Play game, go all the way down here, back, play game, and it's still there. So yeah, that is the main menu setup. So I hope that was helpful, and thank you for watching. Have a good one. Bye.